ओम गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। नमामि गौडपादं च शङ्करं श्रीसुरेश्वरं स्वामिनं सच्चिदानन्दमिन्द्रं तं ज्ञानरूपिणे। ओम नारायण नारायण नारायण। Okay. Today is Sugama Friday. Yes, Friday. Bhamatikaras, Pura Paksha. We are coming to an end. Is the last portion. Here, the big mistake they have been committing, and which we have been pointing out, is anadhyasta. What is not adhyasta cannot go away by jnanam. This is as simple as this. Very nature of ignorance is adhyasa. A misunderstanding is the only ignorance. Ignorance can't be a substance, a material substance. It can't be something positive, something material. It has to be a simple adhyasa. So the question is not about bhava rupa and all that. Okay? They hijack the topic by talking, Satchidananda Swamiji says abhava rupa is ajnanam, and see, this is ridiculous. Being a scholar, so talking this nonsense is very, very, very shameless on their part. First thing is, once you lose your openness, you talk nonsense like this. The question is not bhava rupam abhava rupam, adhyastam or anadhyastam. Okay? Remember this point. Is adhyasa, is avidya adhyasa or something other than adhyasa? That's all we talk about it. Is maya adhyasta or anadhyasta? This is the simple question. Is maya adhyasta or not? If it is adhyasta, then it can go away by knowledge. Knowledge can only shift to your standpoint. Knowledge means correction. Correction means shifting your standpoint from the adhyasta drishti to swarupa drishti. That's all it means. Jnanam is changing your standpoint. You come to look at yourself from yourself, not from the other. Anyatha grahanam is adhyasa. Okay? Anyatha grahanam, misunderstanding, is taking a wrong standpoint. Now you correct the wrong standpoint and come to the right standpoint, that is yourself. Looking at Atma from the standpoint of Atma. Okay? Looking at Atma from the standpoint of Atma is Jnanam. Looking at Atma from the standpoint of Anatma is Ajnana. This is very simple. We have been repeating hundreds of times. I don't know people, because prejudice is a great thing on the earth. Prejudice can destroy a person. However, very, very, very open-minded, intelligent, virakta, he may have a lot of vairagyam, but he will have a lot of obstruction in understanding Vedanta. Oh, you understand my point? He may have a plenty of vairagyam. There was one Swami. He would go around, he passed away, he is no more now. He would travel all over India to teach the world, to teach the right teaching of Vedanta. And he was dead against Satchidanandendra Swamiji. And he would abuse Swamiji. He would go around all those people. And one day I asked one of our Panditas, When he was going to him, I asked him, has he understood? Okay, if we are all ignorant, it's okay. But have you understood the truth with your prakriya, with your method of teaching? You know what he says? ಬೇಕಾದಷ್ಟು ವೈರಾಗ್ಯ ಇದೆ, ಬೇಕಾದಷ್ಟು ವೈರಾಗ್ಯ ಇದೆ. He says he has got a ample vairagya. Bah. How to say that? Ample vairagya? Or immense vairagya, let us say. Immense vairagya. But he could not understand the truth. But he insists everybody is wrong and he alone is right. What a jnanam, you see. This is jnanam. Anyway, there are many more things I don't want to discuss. But simple thing, avidya is not something that is covering Brahman. There is nothing to cover Brahman. Brahman is self-evident and is always consciousness. There is nothing that can cover the consciousness. See, it is as simple as this. Because consciousness is yourself. You can't cover yourself. But you can say there is a misunderstanding. Consciousness is seen as something other than consciousness. See? Because that's what you find. And this misunderstanding itself is looking yourself from a wrong angle, which you are not. Looking at yourself from a wrong angle. What is wrong? What you are not. What you are not. Looking at yourself from what you are not is called adhyasa. And correcting adhyasa is that otherness itself is a misunderstanding. It doesn't exist in fact. Looking at yourself from something other, the other itself is adhyasa. Adhyasa means it doesn't exist. Therefore, you come to your own standpoint, other itself is false. You understand? Other, you thought that there was other, there is nothing other than you. Even that is yourself. Okay, so correcting adhyasa. Now, once they assume that adhyasa is a product, it is an event, it is a production, then adhyasa needs a cause. In Panchapadika, while refuting the Panchapadika's view, Panchapadika's view was that there is a material which covers Brahman and produces adhyasa. That we have refuted before, because there is nothing outside adhyasa. And even if it were there, and there is no way of removing it. Because if there is a substance, jnanam can't remove anything. Jnanam can only point out a fact, existing fact. Jnanam can only point out the existing fact, illumine an existing fact. It can't remove an existing thing and can't produce a non-existent thing. So jnanam na karakam kintu jnapakam. This is what Bhashyakara has been repeating number of times. Jnanam is only jnapakam, not karakam. Okay. So now the next was the Bhamatikaras view, Bhamatikaras paksha. His paksha is they also accept Mula Vidya, but more than Mula Vidya, he is interested in samskara. Adhyasa is a product, no doubt, but it is a samskara. So that samskara produces adhyasa, and adhyasa leaves another samskara. That samskara produces another samskara. Like this, alternating adhyasa samskara and alternating. Now this again is the same problem. So when you say this, they say, therefore, jnanam removing adhyasa is not enough. Even after removing adhyasa, it will come back, because its root, the samskaras, you have left out without touching it. So, see, correcting adhyasa is not enough. Even after correcting adhyasa, it will come back. Again it will come back, because that adhyasa left while going away, Adhyasa left some samskaras. Those samskaras have to be destroyed by Jnanam. But can Jnanam destroy samskaras? It can only correct the wrong view by pointing out the right standpoint, that's all. Now, therefore he says that samskara, now they go by the Bhashakara told that there is a word samskara used as this thing. All that they take Bhashakara statements out of context. Out of context because Bhashakara was referring to samskara only Badhita samskara. Samskara which was falsified. Okay? Badhita samskara, falsified samskara. So instead of touching that falsified samskara, he was talking unfalsified samskara. Oh, see, once the adhyasa is removed, samskara also becomes falsified. This is Siddhanti's view. Adhyasa is corrected, samskara also is corrected. Now, samskara, adhyasa are not two as they say. Samskara and adhyasa are two. When adhyasa is removed, still samskara remains. This is the paksha of Bhamatikara. Very strange paksha. But what Bhashakara says is, first there is no samskara. If it is there, that also goes away with adhyasa. Once adhyasa is corrected, samskara is also corrected. Nacha vidyaphalam tadya. Now he says, adhyasa goes away by ignorance, by knowledge. Adhyasa is corrected by knowledge. But samskara needs to be corrected by an additional attempt. What is that additional attempt? You have to hatch the produced knowledge. The knowledge which is produced has to be hatched. Hatching, you know? Indians, I think Indians have to be told the hatching. The city people do not know. Village people know better. The cock, after laying the eggs, it sits upon it. Any birds generally. After laying the eggs, it sits upon the eggs because to give the warmth to it. Under the warmth over a period of time, the eggs get hatched and the birds come out. This is called hatching. I don't know what you call in Kannada. Hatching. So, by removing adhyasa is not enough. The samskaras have to be separately done. So, two level. The jnanam has to be hatched. The produced jnanam has to be hatched, then it removes it. Nacha vidyaphalam tadabhyasat janyate iti loke drishtam. We don't see that jnanam has risen, but the result of jnanam is not yet produced. You have to rub against the jnanam again and again. Then another jnanam arises, and that will be capable of destroying ignorance. There are no two stages of jnanam. One is an egg. See, the birds have got two janmas. That's why birds are called dvijas. One is the birth as a egg, and the second birth is coming out of the egg as a bird. Okay? One is the birth. So similarly, here they say once the knowledge removes adhyasa, then the same knowledge, when it is hatched upon and it produces another knowledge, that removes samskara. Then the total ajnana goes away. This is Kavu Kodavudu. Kavu Kodavudu. It's something like that in Kannada. Okay. I have to learn that. Podagatam, Telugunalli Podagatam ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಇವು ಕೊದವುಡು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಕೊದವುಡು. ಕೊದವುದು ಪ್ರಾಬಬ್ಲಿ ಕೊದವುದು. ಅದೇ ಪೊದಗಟಂ ತೆಲುಗಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಕೊದವುದು ಆಗಬಹುದು. ಅದು ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಹಿಯರ್ ಹಿ ಸೇಸ್ ದಟ್ಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ದ ರೈಟ್. ಸೊ one place, one Bhashakara statement is there. Yatra punar avidyanavrittir drishyate samskaratah tatra badhitanuvrittir na karyakshama. There is a badhitanuvritti. Vyavaharika drishtya, there is a samskara, but that is only vyavaharika. In his anubhava drishtya, samskara doesn't remain. Everything gets falsified. Falsified means it doesn't exist for his anubhava. From vyavahara drishti, from the worldly standpoint, it may appear to others, not to him. Okay? And taking that, they say that, oh, there is a samskara. Badhitam apitu mithya jnanam. See, Shankaracharya says, Badhitam mithya jnanam. Badhitam apitu mithya jnanam vichandra jnanavat samskara vashat kanchit kalam anuvartate eva. See, this is the difference. After jnanam, samskara may continue. That is, so two things are here. One is Shankaracharya says, after jnanam is falsified, after ajnanam is falsified, its samskara may continue, but that's continuation of the samskara from the vyavaharic standpoint, not from his standpoint. That means it is a badhita anuvritti, not abadhita anuvritti. Okay? It is a completely badhitam from his standpoint, from his anubhava drishti, there is no vyavahara. There is no world, there is no avidya. But whereas, they say, Vyakhyanakaras, avidya partly gets badhita and partly remains, they say. Because, see their explanation. The world, the avidya sticks to Brahman. Brahmashraya avidya, they say. Avidya sticks to Brahman, pertains to Brahman, and from that avidya, Brahman creates the world. It is their paksha, I am repeating. So, Brahman creates the world. When a particular jiva gets jnanam, does the complete avidya go away or only a part of avidya? If complete avidya goes away, what happens? The whole jagat disappears. Because Brahman creates the world with the help of avidya. Because creates means according to them it is a production. They say world is produced from avidya. Because avidya is a material. From the material has to transform into the world. So the avidya produces, transforms into the world. And that avidya sticks to Brahman. Now, if a particular jiva knows Brahman, what happens? Does his knowledge remove the complete avidya? If it destroys complete avidya, then all world gets ended and there is no world at all and no jiva, no world, no samsara for anybody. Then whole world comes to an end, then everybody becomes Brahmagyani, then no jiva remains. They say, no, that doesn't happen. Then what to do? Only one part of avidya goes away, other part of avidya remains. Oh. That means jnanam can remain only a small part of avidya. A small part of avidya goes away, major part of avidya continues. A small part of avidya which gives you samsara, it goes away, but the avidya continues. Okay. This is Sankhya's prakriya. You understand? Avidya sticks to Brahman. Only a small part of it goes away when a given jiva understands Brahman. So only that part of avidya which has caused him samsara, only that part goes away. And the entire avidya doesn't go away because the world has to continue. Oh my God. That means the world is really there to continue. See how they explain. I don't know whether you understand the implication of them. Anyway, you listen, you may understand later. Or whatever you understand, take it, remaining you leave them. Because Siddhanta you can learn. All Purvapakshis argument, everybody may not need to remember. But some of their arguments look very strange and very wrong, see. So, the world is, Ishvara has created really. By jnanam only one part goes away and for you alone you understand Brahman and Jagat remains and world remains. Because avidya, for others it has to continue. They misunderstand here, world is the others and me, this itself is world. All this world doesn't exist for Brahman. This they miss it. They think there is a Maya and that really produces, and therefore it won't go away, it always remains with Brahman. Then if it always remains with Brahman, If you remove avidya, what happens? Then the whole world comes to an end. Therefore, what should you do? The entire avidya remains with the Brahman. Only small part has to be removed. That means avidya you won't remove completely. You won't remove avidya completely. Then whom do you understand? This is the biggest defect the post-Shankarites have created. Therefore, the right solution is avidya doesn't stick to Brahman. Even avidya appearance is from the standpoint of jiva. Okay? Avidya appears, avidya means adhyasa, adhyasa appears from the standpoint of jiva to the jiva and from the standpoint of jiva. In Brahman is always free from avidya. Brahman doesn't have any avidya. Okay. In Vyavaharika Drishti, therefore, if one jiva understands the truth, that's okay. But for others, world continuing, this is only from Vyavaharika Drishti. But others, me and the Jagat, all this doesn't exist for Brahman. Because Jagat is only an appearance due to avidya. It is not an existence. Okay? It's not a real existence. It is only appearance due to avidya. That avidya goes away, then the Jagat doesn't exist for Brahman. It may exist for Vyavaharika Drishti, not to the Brahman. Because Brahman is ever free from avidya. That's important. They say no. Avidya is always with Brahman. It only doesn't disturb him, but it is always with Brahman. We say Brahman is ever free from avidya. Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swabhavaha. Nitya Shuddha Buddha, the main point of Vedanta, they missed it. Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swabhavam Brahma. Brahma is Nitya Shuddha, Nitya Buddha. Brahma is always pure consciousness. There is no avidya whatsoever. Then the very avidya is from the standpoint of avidya. Adhyasa itself is from the standpoint of adhyasa. Therefore, once you correct adhyasa, it exists for none. Therefore, avidya remains for none, neither for you nor for others, for nobody, because Brahman is Brahman. This has to be the right way. So therefore, the samskara which we talked about, Shankara. Now we are coming to the next point. That Shankaracharya talks about samskara for the Vyavaharika Drishti, because even for the Jnani, the body continues, because by gaining Jnanam, body doesn't disappear. In the Vyavaharika Drishti, from the worldly standpoint, body and Vyavahara continues. But that again is Badhitam. Badhitam means what? From his Anubhava, even the body doesn't exist. Even the mind doesn't exist. See, the body and mind which others see of Jnani, the body and mind of Jnani which others see doesn't exist. Even his body, the world and others do not exist from his standpoint. This is the right way of explanation. Therefore, Badhitam apitu mithya jnanam Vichandra jnanavat samskara vashat kanchit kalam anuvartate eva. Therefore, until the prarabdha lasts, as long as the prarabdha lasts, the world and the body, etc., apparently seem to be appearing, but they are falsified. That means they don't exist for him, for his anubhava. Only from the Vyavaharika Drishti they appear. Okay. Nacha viparita pratyayo vidyavataha utpadyate. A jnani cannot have misunderstanding again, no adhyasa. Jnani can never have adhyasa. Mithya jnanam. Okay. Because nirvishayatvat क्वचित्तु विद्यायाः पूर्वोत्पन्न विपरीत प्रत्यय जनित संस्कारेभ्यो विपरीत प्रत्यय अवभासाः स्मृतयो जायमानाः विपरीत प्रत्यय भ्रांतिम् अकस्मात् कुर्वन्ति यथा विज्ञात दिग्विभागस्यापि अकस्मात् दिग्विपर्यय भ्रमः. Okay. If you are in a forest or if you are traveling by a ship in the sea and such places, in those days, the Dig Brahma would take place. Whether what is east, what is west, we would not know. The east and west get confused. Okay. These days people do not know where is east, where is west, because they don't need it at all. They don't need any tithi to know. These people modern days, they don't need to know which direction. Those who do Sandhya Vandanam and Puja and such thing every day, they have to know. Wherever we go to the new place, we instantly ask, which side is the east? We always ask, because we have to face the east and sit. And for them, directions are immaterial. Any place is same, whether east or west, what difference does it make? East and west is required for whom? For only civil engineer who builds the house, he alone needs east or west. Otherwise, nobody. Nowadays, modern people don't need the direction, knowledge of directions, east or west. It has come to mean that way. Which side is east, which side is west, they just don't need it at all. But in those days, see how our old system always gives you the knowledge of nakshatra, knowledge of moon, what tithi is there, Purnima, how far away we are from Purnima, how far we have come from Amavasya. Our tithi shows how far we have come from Amavasya, at what stage we are, and how far we are away from Purnima, how much we are yet to go to reach Purnima. To reach Purnima, how many days we have to go. That was the tithi. Okay, and directions. All this were given to us. Anyway, we have lost this civilization. And Hindus are losing day by day. It's very unfortunate. Because we lose a great civilization and buy a most useless, vulgar civilization. And parents are so happy to send their children to these idiotic English medium schools. Very, very dangerous it is. It is inhuman. It is inhuman on the parts of parents. Parents have become devils to their children. They can send their children away from a great civilization. And they feel proud for it. Oh. How can human beings be like that? I can't understand. Human beings make their children inhuman. That means you don't know the value of being human. You don't know the value of being human. You make your children inhuman. Okay, so he says, Digvibhagaha. First, you did not know which side is each, where is east, where is west, and where is north and south. Somebody suggested, oh, this is the east, this side is the east, this is the south, north, and the west. My back is the west. So front is the east. Generally, we always face east. Okay, this is the east I am facing now. Because this has become so habitual. Wherever we go, we instantly look for east and sit there. While taking food, while sleeping, see, while taking food, while reading, while doing japa dhyana, and also while sleeping, we need the knowledge of directions. Okay, while sleeping, we need the knowledge of direction. While doing japa dhyana, we need the knowledge of directions. While eating food, of course, we need the knowledge of directions. So without these, we just don't live. So it has become so part of our life. Tithi, knowing the tithi, and also directions. These two are part of it. Without Panchanga, without directions, we just can't live. Okay, detail Vastu you may not know, but at least directions we know. This much of Vastu, a small part of Vastu, a small part of Jyotisha is necessarily present in anybody. Okay, so he says, once you are told this is the directions, you are revealed. After knowing it, again you may get confused, because when you turn this side and this thing, oh, again you get confused, oh, whether east is this side or that side. Again for a split second, you may get confused. Oh, again it's, oh, yes, this is east, yes, now I understand, yes, now I remember, he says. That means for a small split second, you may get confused. So it can happen. Therefore, it may happen in case of directions, but not in case of Atma. Samyak jnanavatopiche, but not in case of the Atman. Once you know the Atman, no question of misunderstanding, because Atma is self-evident. What is self-evident, self-existent, can never be lost. Therefore, purvavad viparita pratyayaha utpadyate. If supposing after gaining jnanam, After gaining knowledge, if misunderstanding takes place again, as the Purvapakshi told, Purvapakshi says, after you gain jnanam, the samskaras are removed. On account of the samskaras, owing to samskaras, again the adhyasa arises. Again adhyasa is produced. This is what Bhamati Paksha told. But here Shankara says, Purvavad viparita pratyayah samyak jnanavatopi utpadyate chet. Abba, I think Shankaracharya is answering directly Bhamatikara. It's a very strange thing to say. Bhamatikara is 1 century later. Shankaracharya is replying to Bhamatikara who comes 1 century later. See how interesting this statement it is. Samyak jnanavatopi chet viparita pratyayah utpadyate. Nacha viparita pratyayo vidyavatah utpadyate nirvishayatvat. Utpadyate samyak jnanepi avisrambhat. If a jnani, after understanding the truth, again he loses sight of the truth, again he slips down to ajnana. Viparita pratyaya utpadyate andre, again if he slips down after gaining jnanam, after correcting knowledge, if he slips down to ignorance, then we have samyak jnanepi avisrambhat. People will lose faith in jnanam. Jnanam's capacity to remove ignorance, people will lose faith in it. People cannot trust jnanam, because even after jnanam you again come back to samsara. What is the point in gaining jnanam? Shastrartha vijnanadau pravrutti rasamanjasa syat. People lose interest in studying the Shastra, in doing the Tattva Vichara, because even after gaining jnanam, you are slipping down to ajnanam. Then what can help you? Oh, sarvam cha pramanam apramanam sampadyeta. Sarvam cha then what happened? All the pramana means Shastra pramana becomes apramana. People will lose interest. Anyway, this is now Vartikakara statement. This is a Bhashyakara statement, and now the Vartikakara shloka also helps. What is that? Bhadyabadhaka yor yasmat sambandha sakrudevatu. Abba, Sureshwara is very clear. He pinpoints anything. Crystal clear. Bhadyabadhaka yor yasmat sambandha sakrudevatu. Once jnanam arises, ajnana gets falsified. Again there is no question of ajnana coming back again. Bhadyabadhaka yor yasmat sambandha sakrudevatu. This relation of falsifying and getting falsified, this is only once for good. Once means once for good. Sakrudevatu means once for good. It happens once and it happens for good. Sambandhottarakaletu tat smrityoreva sangatihi. Later if it continues, it is only falsified anuvritti but not non-falsified. Purvapakshi says unfalsified samskara continuing. Okay. Unfalsified, he says. Therefore, ato avidyabade sati nakinchid avasishyate yan ashartam vidyabhyaso vidyantarancha gaveshaniyam syat. Therefore, after falsifying, after correcting misunderstanding, no samskara or nothing remains. In order to remove which, you need a repetition of adhyasa. Okay. No samskara remains. In order to remove which, you need a practice of avidya, you practice of knowledge, you see. practice alla, repetition of knowledge. Knowledge which is born, what is the point in repeating? By repeating, do you get anything? This is a very strange thing. You don't need a repetition of knowledge which is already a knowledge. By dwelling, by repeating knowledge, you won't get anything. Knowledge remains knowledge. Okay? Therefore, tasmad ayuktoyam avidya samskara vadaha. Therefore, this adhyasa having a samskara is wrong. It can't be accepted. Alam pallavitena. It is enough. See, such a big argument. A long Purvapaksha we have discussed, as I told you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages. No. 7 pages we discussed. I think how many classes we discussed and told. Now we have concluded. Now we can go to the next topic. Okay. Tasmad atmana atmanoritara adhyasa eva vidya. Then ultimate conclusion is the mutual exchanging, taking one thing for the other, atma and anatma, taking atma for anatma, anatma for atma. So this mutually exchanging in your thinking alone, okay, is avidya, and vidya is tad vastu swarupa avadharanameva vidya, and the knowledge is correcting the misunderstanding and trying to know the atma as atma and anatma is nothing but a misunderstanding about the atma alone. Anatma itself doesn't exist. There is only one atma, and anatma is only kalpitam, is imagination, anatma. So when you know these things, this is jnanam. Therefore, the nature of jnanam ajnanam is settled. You go to the next step. Adhyasa nirupana phalam. Now the last sentence of this small bit. Now what is the purpose of describing this adhyasa? He says, adhyasa nirupana phalam. Ata idanim adhyasa nirupanasya phalamaha. Purpose of explaining adhyasa is tatra evam sati yatra yadadhyasaha tatkritena doshena gunena va anumatrena pisana sambadhyate. Adhyasa, the purpose of talking about adhyasa, the purpose of explaining adhyasa is only to show that atma is ever free from adhyasa. See, this is very interesting thing. To say that atma is ever free from adhyasa, we talk of adhyasa. I think I told you one scholar questioned our prakriya, that is adhyasa adhyasta or not? What does he mean? Again, adhyasa is one substance really. Adhyasa is also talked about from the standpoint of adhyasa. Itself, Brahman is ever free from adhyasa. Therefore, Brahman is always ever free from adhyasa. So this is the purpose of presenting adhyasa. So the very prakriya of adhyasa is only to show how Brahman is free from adhyasa. We are not trying to establish how adhyasa is. Okay? We are trying to establish how Brahman is free from adhyasa. No adhyasa is possible from the standpoint of Brahman. That is the thing. From the standpoint of Brahman, Brahman himself doesn't suffer from any adhyasa. Brahman himself doesn't have adhyasa, he doesn't suffer. Brahman himself, okay, has no adhyasa or doesn't suffer from adhyasa. Otherwise, people think that Brahman himself suffers from adhyasa. In fact, Dvaitins talk of the same thing. What is this Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta? Brahman himself gets deluded, comes under adhyasa, and later gets released. Oh, you mean Brahman himself gets under? Brahman doesn't come under adhyasa. Brahman doesn't suffer from adhyasa, doesn't come under adhyasa. Okay? Does not come under adhyasa, does not suffer from adhyasa. It is the jiva who is within adhyasa. He alone comes under adhyasa, and Brahman ever remains untouched by adhyasa. Ever untouched by adhyasa. That means adhyasa never exists for Brahman. Brahman is ever free. That's what the Bhashya Vakya says. See, tatra evam sati yatra yadadhyasaha, where there is an adhyasa, tat krutena doshena gunena va, with either a defect or a quality, either a quality or a defect of adhyasa, does anumatrena apina sambadhyate. Atma remains untouched either by the quality or the defect of adhyasa. Means, or in other words, adhyasa affects Brahman neither positively nor negatively. Okay? Doshena gunena va. Adhyasa affects Brahman neither positive side, neither on the plus side nor on the minus side. Neither positively nor negatively. That means neither positive nor negative. Neither plus side nor minus side. That means it doesn't add up anything to Brahman, nor it doesn't bring any blot on Brahman, nor it improve the Brahman. That means adhyasa doesn't exist. Adhyasa doesn't affect Brahman. That means adhyasa doesn't make any difference. Adhyasa doesn't make any difference to Brahman. Does not make any difference means what? It doesn't exist for Brahman. That's all. It does not exist for Brahman. Doesn't make any difference means it doesn't exist. That's why it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make any difference because it doesn't exist for Brahman. Brahman remains ever. You can't say that Brahman has come under avidya for a while and later gets released. Okay? You can't say Brahman comes under avidya for a while and later gets released. No. Because coming under avidya itself is from the standpoint of avidya. Brahman remains ever unaffected by avidya. Okay. Tatra pratyagatma anatmanostad dharmanam cha itaretara bhavena yo vyavaharaha tasmin evam sati. Pratyagatma anatmanostad dharmanam cha itaretara bhavena yo vyavaharaha. So we see in our experience, like Jiva's experience, that Atma is associated with Anatma. Anatma with Atma means consciousness is taken to be an object of awareness. Consciousness taken as an object. Because we refer to consciousness as this. That means we are referring to consciousness as an object of thought. And what is object of consciousness taken as a consciousness? Simple thing. Atma and Atma means what is an object of consciousness and what is consciousness. Simple thing. Atma and Atma means object of consciousness is taken as consciousness. Consciousness is taken as an object of consciousness, as available for perception, as available for imagination. Consciousness is taken as available to the thought. That means is available as an object of thinking. We are thinking of consciousness. That means consciousness is made an object of thinking. We are thinking about consciousness. We are discussing. We are thinking. That means consciousness becomes an object of thinking. Oh, this is the mistake. This is adhyasa again. Therefore, all Vedanta Vichara is also within adhyasta only. Vedanta Vichara also within adhyasta. Once you know the Atman, no thinking is possible. In fact, by removing the very thinkability, you come to Atma. All thoughts remain away from the Atma. They do not touch the Atma. They don't exist for Atma. The thinking itself is away from the Atma. Anatma, thoughts may think, but whatever they think, they can think only of Anatma. Then what about Atma? Thought cannot think Anatma. Very thought is Anatma. Thought cannot think Atma. Thought cannot think Atma. Thought can think only Anatma. Thought cannot think Atma. I repeat. Thought cannot think Atma. It can think only Anatma. Then sometimes we think of Atma. That means we reduce it as Anatma. We imagine, we impose as if it is Anatma and then think of it. We reduce it, we impose we impose a relationship as if it is anatma and then we think of it. Otherwise it can't be thought of. You impose, you make it as if anatma and then think of it. Otherwise atma itself is not the, atma itself is, consciousness is the basis of all thinking, it can't be thought of. Anyway, this point, this is a point, is a good point because it is a conclusion of the discussion of so long adhyasa. Okay, so this conclusion is very interesting. It needs one more class. Now the time is up. We will discuss in the next class. Okay, this how adhyasa, the purpose of explaining adhyasa, the purpose of propounding adhyasa is to show that atma is free from adhyasa, not to show how adhyasa is possible in atma, not to show how adhyasa is possible, not to show how atma comes under adhyasa and later gets released. That's not the purpose. The purpose of adhyasa is to show that mind is thinking that atma has really undergone adhyasa. Only to correct that misunderstanding we say adhyasa is from the standpoint of adhyasa. Even the Purvapakshi means even the Vyakhyanakaras, when they raised objection against Swamiji, they made the same mistake again. They say if atma comes under adhyasa and again gets released. Atma doesn't come under adhyasa. Atma is ever free from adhyasa. That means it neither comes under adhyasa nor it needs to be released. This is what means adhyasa. It neither comes under adhyasa nor it gets released. It is ever free. Adhyasa doesn't exist for it, for atma. In order to understand this, we brought adhyasa as a prakriya. Anyway, this is the most important thing. We need to discuss it some more. We will discuss in the next class. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Tat Sat.